It's time for another Friday Roundtable Extravaganza here on the Rubin Report. I'm still Dave Rubin. I hope you know that at this point. And joining me today is the host of Hoop Chat and Israel advocacy expert Emily Austin. And also joining me is an ex-BLM activist turned PragerU host, Xaviaer DuRousseau. Emily, Xaviaer, welcome to the Rubin Report.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before we begin, I have to address the elephant in the room here. Xaviaer, the hair situation, is this a nod to Joy Reid? What's going on here?
You know, maybe I'm just going through a quarter life crisis or something, but I just wanted to, switch up the look. I figured I'm young. Why not? I want to try something different. It is whiter right now than it was supposed to be. I was getting the roots touched up and they accidentally turned my hair to a marshmallow, but you know what? I'm serving it. I'm working it.
So to be clear, that is not natural. That is not the natural hair color.
Believe it or not, this is not the hair color that came out of my head. I just wanted to be in my platinum era. Emily is very influential. I've always wanted to be blonde like her, so figured I would go for it.
All right. Well, I'm very glad to have you on, Emily. I've obviously had you on a couple times. Xaviaer, your first time. But I thought the topics this week, we're just going to kind of catch up on some of the lunacy as it pertains to the regular racist people and the media people and the wokeness and the craziness. I thought we'd get a nice, let's say, younger perspective with you guys. Let's just dive right into it. The View, which is a program that airs the same exact time as this show, and thank God you're watching this because they're breaking brains over there. One of the hosts is once sane Joy Behar, who has completely gone off the deep end, and here she is explaining why the Obama children can't get into politics, and of course, you're not going to believe it, but it starts with an R and it ends with an M. You know what it is.
So, as funny as that is, it's also really sad. Yeah. Because does that mean that politics have gotten so nasty that young people won't want to go into it?
It is nasty. I miss Obama, though. When I see him, I want him back.
Yeah. He just makes you smile.
I love him. He was such a good president, but I think that, the Kennedys have a legacy. They have that whole generation of guys.
Yeah.
Well, so look what happened with the latest, RFK Jr. Poor guy has a worm in his brain. Which is a problem if you're going to run the country. But the thing of the Obama, and they were subject, the Kennedys are all subject to the same kind of vitriol that any other president was. But with the Obamas, on top of that, you have racism coming at them. And these kids remember when Melania and Trump said that he was a birther. Yeah. That whole lie that went around that said that Obama wasn't born in this country. So I don't think that they want to subject their kids to such nonsense. Well, I agree with that.
Guys, every time I show a clip of The View, and actually almost any time I show a clip of anyone on mainstream media at this point, all I say is we just need a mirror, because every single thing that they are saying and accusing people of is just something that they themselves are doing. They're upset that politics are nasty while they are basically the poster child for the nastiness of politics. Emily, I thought women were supposed to be nicer or something. I guess not.
Who told you that? Because they...
I'm very confused about things. Yeah.
I find this really funny. Dave, I saw you were on Gutfeld last week. So Monday night I was on and they showed, I forgot his name, but you guys can pull it up after. This Democratic candidate in Texas, if I'm not mistaken, I totally might have made that up, was running for some political office, and he made a fake account to send himself racist messages as the victim card. And all I could think about was, wow, we're at such a good point in this country where he's not even experiencing enough racism to make himself the victim he wants to be. But I think you also nailed it with whatever you're saying, put a mirror in front of your face. They're just projecting onto others either what they truly believe, maybe like deep down they're secretly racist, or they're just trying to kiss Obama's ass for whatever reason and make it seem like his daughters can't get into it because of racism, but in reality, maybe they're just not that bright.
Maybe they're not that bright. And Xaviaer, I'm not an American historian here, but I do know a little something. I'm fairly certain that the founders of this country, the Pilgrims, came here because we were trying to avoid a king. We didn't want a monarchy. We didn't want family member after family member to take over and be in charge of us. But apparently that's what they want if it's the Obamas.
You know, that it's funny you say that because I don't believe that inherently you're supposed to just be expected to go run for office simply because your father did.
Mm-hmm.
But it's ironic that they're sitting here using Obama as an example of, oh, his kids don't want to get into this because of racism. America proved that we were not a racist country multiple times. So we especially did when we elected Obama twice. So that's just a tired, played out narrative. But the real tea is the fact that his daughters don't want to get into politics probably has nothing to do with race and has everything to do with how insane our political system is. It's ghetto how much effort they go through to destroy each other, even on their own respective sides. I mean, just look at C.J. Pearson, for example. He's 21 years old. He ran for state house earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the governor spent $150,000 on a smear campaign, bringing up things from when he was 14 years old. And that's an issue that we have uniquely in Gen Z, where our entire lives have been on camera. Everything that we have said or done have been on social media. So it's easy to make it seem like we're all these just raging degenerates when you can pull things out of context when we were teenagers in middle school compared to older generations who said and did the exact same, if not crazier things, but it's not on camera. You even have Caroline Leavitt, who she said "hobag," and "hobag" was enough to, just that one little Snapchat video was enough to derail her campaign. It's like, please be serious. I don't care what generation you're from. You've called somebody a "hobag" or something similar at some point in your life.
Am I missing?
I don't think I've ever used the phrase "hoe bag," for the record.
You got to update your rhetoric.
Emily, go ahead.
Obama's daughters ever announced that they ever wanted to be in politics, or are we just making a narrative because there's not enough juicy gossip right now to talk about?
I think that's kind of what it is. I don't know that Sasha or Malia want to go into politics. But actually, I want to jump ahead. We have another view clip in a moment. But Xaviaer, I want to throw to something that I saw that you did last week. You got into a debate with Cornel West, who is, I would say, a sort of far-left professor, from where I stand, kind of been wrong about everything for decades. And you guys got into it, I think, on Piers Morgan over racism, and it's a really wonderful moment. Take a look.
Why are we still talking about white supremacy in 2024? Why are we still talking about that hundreds of years later? What do white people do that black people can't? How is white supremacy even still on the forefront of your mind? You're stuck in the past. You're stuck in these dated issues, and that's what the problem really starts.
Now you're really revealing your ignorance, brother. You don't think white supremacy has anything to do with what's going on in Gaza at all?
How am I ignorant? I've been black for 27 years, and I have never been inferior to a white person. What is the white supremacy that is affecting your life? I would like to hear it. What can't I do that a white person can do?
You one of the few black people never been mistreated. Okay, all right, I see.
Saying that I've never been mistreated. Every demographic has been mistreated.
All right, Emily, I'll let you handle the Gaza portion of this. But Xaviaer, the beauty of that was sort of, I think, the generational divide that was going on there. He thinks that because some people, maybe in past or present, have been mean to white people or acted in racist ways, that means that white supremacy is real. You're walking around LA these days. You doing all right? Everything's okay?
Being black is a very easy life. And people get mad at me when I say that, but it is so convenient being black in America in 2024. And that's because of the hard work that was put in by pioneers of the civil rights movement and people who actually worked to get the slaves freed. But, you know, Dr. West, every time he touches a mic, he talks like he's trying to still get the slaves freed when clearly he's just mentally stuck in the past. And that's what I was trying to explain to him. And I tried to do it as respectfully as possible as he's trying to put this narrative of white supremacy onto me and make me feel like there's all these obstacles that I have because of skin color. If my perspective is single-handedly enough for me to avoid all these acts of racism that I'm apparently supposed to be drowning in, then I think that shows that it's a figment of your imagination and it's something that you just have some sort of PTSD on that you've chosen to have. And that's not saying that there aren't racist people or racist circumstantial situations, but there's not a single demographic in this country or in this world that has not been discriminated against. So please cry me a river and get your life together.
Emily, help me out with this Gaza one. Gaza has something to do with white supremacy, because we know that the Jews are loved by the white supremacists. By the way, there were no Jews in Gaza before October 7th. But can you help me with this one? Let's give the guy let's give the devil his due here. What could he possibly be trying to say?
I don't know if y'all saw my face when that clip was playing back. I thought they were having a race debate that was irrelevant to the Middle Eastern conflict. The second I heard the word Gaza, my jaw physically dropped. Because I don't understand any correlation between white supremacy, which Xaviaer said spot on. We don't have ample amount of white supremacists anymore, that are at least successful and prevalent in today's society. But now you're bringing that into the Gaza conflict. Let's talk about blacks in the Middle East. They have more rights in Israel than any other country, arguably, in the Middle East, unless you're forcibly converted to Islam and want to live in these Muslim countries. But also, a lot of people don't talk about this one project that I want to highlight. Israel, don't quote me on the year because I don't know, I'm not a historian, was saving black Ethiopian Jews from Africa and bringing them into Israel because they were being slaughtered for not forcibly converting to Islam.
Yeah, that was throughout the 80s and 90s, yeah.
I see, you know. Now, there's this narrative, and I find it a lot in sports, like working in the NBA, it's predominantly black. I will hear from a lot of athletes, oh, well, I don't go to Israel because blacks aren't allowed there. That is the most far-fetched thing I've ever heard. And now a second point I want to bring up with white supremacy in Israel is that everyone has this false narrative that Jewish people are all white, quote unquote, because they might have fake blonde hair like myself. But look at me, they call me the genocide Barbie, the American white genocide Barbie. My family was from Iraq. And you know why we were kicked out? Because the Jewish people were ethnically cleansed from Iraq and Yemen and Turkey and Syria and Afghanistan. And we were forced into Israel and then dispersed amongst America. And it's just so funny that we're still the white supremacists. But I honestly, just to like bring it all together, it comes back to the narrative where if you are not oppressed, you're the oppressor. And because I don't feel like I'm being oppressed, I'm the villain, I'm the bad guy, and I'm mistreating everyone. And I'm white, so I already have that narrative that's completely going to follow me because I was born with white skin.
Well, let's connect that to another clip on The View, because here is Sunny Hostin talking about how black mothers should not want their children to go into politics.
And I think a lot of black mothers especially would be nervous about their children getting into politics because of the racial bias that still exists in this country, the societal bias, the structural racism that still exists in this country, even though people think that that's not true. But, you know, we need less influencers, young influencers, and more leaders. We do. We need fresh blood. We need young people that are unafraid to give their unvarnished opinions and not be as concerned about their brands and as concerned about what other people will think, and getting reelected and stand on the right side of history for a change.
Xaviaer, I really despise that woman, and I don't have a lot of hatred in my heart, but she's actually evil, because I don't even think she believes what she's saying. You can really see it when she's saying these things, that she's trying to always work it through to sound a certain way. But on one hand, she's saying that young black people and influencers should be unafraid. On the other hand, she's saying that people like you are a young black influencer, the whole system is set up against you. That would be something to be afraid of.
You know, people like Sunny just can't pick a struggle. And it's really interesting to just watch that all play out when she's just constantly contradicting herself. But, you know, I really want to tap into this premise of, oh, we don't need influencers, we need leaders. Well, a lot of influencers, like all of us, technically, we are all considered influencers. We are leading, we are influencing, we are putting our thoughts out there. We are trying to make change in culture. So having us being downplayed it's crazy to me that you want to sit here and act like just being an influencer means that everybody's afraid of, you know, having their brand affected. But it's people like Sunny who constantly tries to affect people's brands. The second you say something that isn't catering to the woke crowd, or when someone like me doesn't subscribe to this narrative that I'm supposed to feel oppressed, then all of a sudden they want to take away my platform because they don't want me to lead anymore. And, you know, her talking about the whole black mother shouldn't want their kids in politics, you know, that actually does go very deep. I just had a flashback to 2008. I was 11 years old and Obama had just been elected. I remember my mom crying in my very leftist household. She was crying. She was so happy. And she told me, she goes, oh, wow. It is just a shame that this man is going to get assassinated because our country is so racist. And she looked at me and she said, son, you can be anything you want to be in this world. Just please do not try to be president because they will kill you because you are a black man. Well, I'm looking at Obama and he's walking around just fine.
Not only that, but I'm pretty sure he's still the president right now. It's just that he's got this bag of bones, you know, with the you know, the thing at the desk. Emily, we discussed this once before, and I thought you had a great answer on it. Can you talk a little bit about the confusion of young people, why they seem to want to be oppressed, why that has now so much cachet?
Because they reap all the benefits when it comes to that. I mean, unemployment is, first of all, that's a whole separate issue in itself. But if you're unemployed in America, you basically get free money. If you're a victim, you get more attention. If you're gay, trans, or queer, you get an entire month now. If you're Black, you get an entire month. How about this? If you're Jewish, you get an entire month, which, by the way, as a Jewish person, I don't think we need a month to validate our existence being on this earth or in this country.
Wait, what month do we have? We got a month?
I think we had a month. I heard it was Jewish Heritage Month, and I was like, so next month am I not valued equally as this month?
I was not informed of that month.
I wasn't, whatever. Anyway, my point is, when you suddenly make yourself a victim, it's almost as if you feel like you're better than someone else because you're owed either reparations of some sort or more attention than some other group of people. And you get just, I don't understand, you get further in life by being oppressed because they feel like the system needs to then bend to conform to your needs. And because they're being rewarded for that and they're seeing that it's true, why change? And I'll give you a good example of that. That night that finally the NYPD went to start arresting the Columbia students, and they were being interviewed by Fox News, and they're like, what are you going to do? Now you're going to jail. You're not going to get a job. And the kid goes to the camera, oh, I'll be out tomorrow morning. See y'all tomorrow. Mm-hmm. When you don't have consequences and you're being rewarded for bad behavior, and today the victims are being rewarded for their stupid behavior, why stop when it's allowed?
So I want to connect this to something pretty interesting. There was a show on NBC. It ended in 2023, but this clip of the show, it was called New Amsterdam, has been going viral now. It, for some reason, did not go viral when the show was out. It was on, I think, for 5 seasons. And when we talk about this sort of victimhood and all of this race stuff and everything else, check this out.
Make yourself comfortable. There's a couch over there.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he's okay. I had Cephas answer some questions from a Harvard test known as unrest. It is designed to measure someone's level of social resistance.
Social resistance.
When people like us oppose the values and policies of the dominant culture.
That's right.
What does that have to do with?
Your son, he feels threatened on a daily basis. Like everything he's earned can just be taken away. He's disenfranchised. But because his life is seemingly free from all this, because he can't name it, he's internalizing it.
Name what?
Racism. I think your son's tumor was caused by racism.
Okay, I can't imagine why that show was canceled. Anyway, I'm showing you that because bizarrely, it's making the rounds now, but it sort of illustrates the point that Emily just made. Xaviaer, health-wise, you're doing all right? You don't have any strange... the hair, honestly, fine. The hair. Maybe there's like a white guy trying to bust out. I don't know what's going on over there.
I feel like the bleach in my hair has done more benefits to my health than watching that clip. Watching that clip literally just like basically gave me cyanide poisoning. I am just so repulsed by that show. Wow, it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see that played out in such a dramatic way, and to make it seem like, oh, because people hurt your feelings, now you have cancer or you have a tumor. It's like, can we please be serious? Like, that's more unserious than Fauci trying to tell us about COVID and just being like, oh, just kidding. You didn't actually have to be 6 feet away. You didn't have to wear those masks. I was just in a silly, goofy mood and wanted you to feel like this is what you have to do to make yourself feel better. It's like, how about they actually start talking about things that are relevant to society? Or if you're going to have a show about health, you could talk about the real health concerns. You could talk about how pretty much every single brand that we have in our food industry that's international, we have a much worse version of it here than we do have overseas. It's like, we could be exploring these real things that are giving us cancer, but no, we have to make everything about racism because there's nothing that sells more in this country than victim bingo.
Emily, would you like to comment on that, or should we take this to Kathy Hochul?
No, I disagree. I feel like my thyroid problems are because loans, and I feel like because I paid for my college tuition, now I have thyroid problems. So personally, I relate to that show.
Yeah, I do have a little shoulder pain. I'm pretty sure it's because of mean YouTube comments. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I don't know how to segue out of this exactly, but I thought this video was just spectacular because everything that the Democrats talk about, they end up ushering in the complete reverse. They talk about diversity and tolerance, and they usher in the absolute 180 reverse of that. Here is New York Governor Kathy Hochul. She was at a Juneteenth event, which you would think would, again, be about diversity and equality and all the good stuff. But a pro-Hamas lady got in her face, and check this out.
talks about how the Black Revolution is basically the basis of freeing all of us, including Palestine. So we just wanted to make sure that you had a mission that talks about the Black Revolution and its ties to Gaza specifically. And your constituents, they definitely want you to call for a ceasefire after more than 40,000 people have been murdered on our tax dollars. So we didn't have it yet, but it would be really great to have a more vocal support. New York City stands with Palestine. We would love a more vocal from our governor specifically.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
we don't need a mask ban. It keeps New York City safe for those.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much.
Emily, let me start with you there, because this is sort of connected to that Gaza thing that Cornel West was doing in white supremacy, that somehow Black Revolution stands with Free Palestine. There's a confusion there. Also, now they're against mask bans because they want people to be able to wear Hamas masks and kick Jews off the subway. But Hochul, to me, deserves it. She deserves to be confronted by these people because she has helped endorse it and usher it in.
Well, it goes back to the victimhood. You know, victimhood seeks other groups that feel like they're also in this state of victimhood. So the Black community, I guess, that she probably thinks she's representing falsely, feels like they need to identify with the Palestinian community, which is a made-up identity within itself. And they feel like maybe if they put their oppression together, they're a stronger force against the evil colonizers, that is, the Zionist Jews that run the world, allegedly. But I'm going to translate what this girl is actually saying in reality. Hey, everyone, I'm a Black woman speaking on our behalf, even though nobody appointed me to. And I want to free Palestine so that Hamas can take it over, turn it into Iran, Syria, and Afghanistan, where they will oppress Black people. They will oppress anyone who's not Muslim. They will oppress women. They will oppress Westernization. And then I'm going to march the streets to go protest how they're beating women for not wearing a hijab in 2 years from now after I've freed Palestine. Also, please unban the masks so my identity is safe when I go vandalize and harass Jews on the street. Thank you, Governor. That's what they're really saying. But she's too dumb to understand what she's actually advocating for, as are all of these college protesters on campus that are literally fighting for another Ayatollah Iran in Gaza.
Yeah, Xaviaer, for you've been really outspoken in your support for Israel, since October 7th. Is there a weird racial element to that we're sort of illustrating here? For you as a Black man? And I hate to ask a question that sounds like that.
When I look at it, it's very much what I've been describing as BLM has been rebranded and repackaged to be more extreme and even less research. And that is this Free Palestine crowd. And it's really ironic because they talk about how we need all these rights. We need to fight for justice. But let's see how many rights we have when radical Islam are the people that are making all of our laws and telling us what our rights are or not. But, this is what Governor Kathy has coming her way, because when you are out there celebrating Juneteenth in this very segregating type of way, what you're doing essentially is you are misremembering history and you're siding with racial segregation and with all of these just forced narratives that do not correlate. And that's exactly what the Free Palestine crowd is. So she's bringing that crowd towards her. So I'm really surprised that there weren't more people confronting her, trying to push this Free Palestine narrative while at the Juneteenth event, because all of these issues are connected together because they don't actually have any substance to stand on their own.
Yeah, and that's exactly why, to me, it's like she deserves it. You have created the constituency from hell, and now you have to kind of stand there. I mean, she stands there like she's a hostage while this person just recites utter, not 40,000 people murdered, like just complete nonsense. But let's connect one more story here, because the big thing this week is that there is just more and more evidence of Joe Biden just mentally and physically breaking down at this point. And that's kind of the sub-story, because the real story this week was watching the mainstream media run cover for him. It is incredible to see the lies happen in real time from mainstream media. Let's show you this. We got a spliced video here, so it's going to be 2 instances of Biden breaking down, then we'll come back.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm Jill Biden's husband. Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure you're going to do show away. But all kidding aside.
God, it really, it's like we're all laughing and then it's also deeply depressing in a weird way. Look, the fact that he can't get into an SUV, you see his foot just dangling there and they have to push him in, the confusion, the mumbling, not knowing people's names, all of that stuff. But actually, you know what, before I let you guys chime in, let's just show you one of the ways that the mainstream media has been running cover for all this nonsense this week.
That's what we're seeing. That's what the Biden administration, the Biden campaign is so worried about right now. But make no mistake, they are worried about this. This is a real problem. This is not some made-up fiction. The videos are oftentimes made up, but the problem is real.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to show you that is that's Brian Stelter saying something that's not 100% insane. He is acknowledging there's a little bit of a problem there, but all week they were pushing this idea of cheap fakes and deep fakes and selectively edited video and everything else. Emily, like, we can see it. It's happening right in front of our eyes. We don't need cheap fakes or deep fakes or anything else for this.
It's very sad, and I hate laughing about it because I genuinely, and I'm not saying it to be funny or I'm not joking when I say it's elderly abuse, they are abusing Joe Biden. He is not physically or mentally capable of being the president for the next 4 minutes, let alone the next 4 years. And it's abusive, and it's really sad that after that clip aired, I went on, Fox, and I spoke about it, and I got calls from a lot of my doctor friends. And they said that he's showing such clear signs of Parkinson's disease, where you freeze up in a way and you need physical touch to get yourself going again. And also, I want to point out something funny about Biden's freeze in LA with Obama on stage. I don't believe the whole Obama's campaign debunking that narrative. Obama so could have easily put his arm organically around Joe Biden and helped him get off the stage to trigger his, early onset Parkinson's disease and prompt him to walk, rather than grab his hand in a very demeaning, childish way, showing everyone look, baby Joe, let's go off the stage like he's a child being escorted across the street. It was very demeaning, and I think it was very deliberate, and I think it was actually a message showing people, look, he's not capable, which is all just a stunt because they're going to put Hillary Clinton to run instead.
So I don't know about the Hillary Clinton part, but that is exactly what I said when I saw that. If Obama wanted people to have confidence in Biden, he would have just tapped him and whispered something. Instead, you're right. He held him the entire time, the same way all of us have helped a grandparent walk up the stairs or walk to the car or something else. And I agree. I think it was Obama saying, it was winking to everybody, guess who's really in charge around here? Xavier, do you think that that's like a crazy notion? I haven't heard anyone else say it, but that's exactly what I said a couple days ago.
I definitely could see it that way. Obama and Biden have never really gotten along that well. If you've seen so many of the quotes that Obama has said about Joe over the years and about how never underestimate Joe's ability to F things up, it's very clear that there is some tension there, but it's just a matter of they're trying to play nice for the optics. The reason I laughed at the beginning or after watching that clip is because sometimes I have to laugh to keep myself from crying about how doomed we are as a society, that this is someone who potentially could be leading our country for another 4 years. That's a very terrifying thought to think about. And when you look at the way he's mumbling and stumbling all over his words, it reminds me that I always tell people there are 3 levels of Joe Biden awareness. There are the people who are aware of these clips where he's looking a complete mess, where he's stumbling all over himself, or on the other side when you're only seeing his best moments, which still are wildly mediocre at best. Then you have the people who have seen, full clips of him in context. When you watch a full speech of him, you're very aware of just how messy he is. But if you want the real tea, what I always say when I know Joe Biden is giving a speech is I want to see what he just said written on paper. Because we are gaslighted when Joe Biden is on stage because his handlers and his support staff are laughing and clapping and nodding and making it seem like he's making sense. When you see the transcription of what he just said, it was literal gibberish that in no possible context would it ever make sense. And that's very scary to think about. When you are the leader of the free world, every single word that you say holds power behind it. And I'm afraid to know what kind of power is really going to have over the world in the next 4 years if he stays in office.
Let's just finish up with the media component to it, because the reason I showed you that Stelter clip, I could have showed you a million clips from MSNBC of them completely running cover, right? Not acknowledging anything's wrong with him. Joe Scarborough every day says that Joe Biden is sharper than ever and he's sharper than Joe himself and all of that. That actually might be true. But the reason I showed you that one was is that Stelter, by slightly acknowledging what we all can see, to me, that shows that they know they can't hold this position much more, because they're not 100% lying to us in this case. They're sort of like, oh, wow, this one is so bad, we have to acknowledge a degree of truth. And that's not really what they do with anything, Emily.
They have two options. If you're still going to vote for Joe Biden, you either have to be heavily, heavily paid off, or just living in a false delusional reality. They played this clip the other day on MSNBC where the anchor, she was like a brunette woman, God, I don't know their names because I don't watch, but she said, you know, Trump, it's very frightening to think about 4 more years with Trump. You know, he's not there mentally, he's too old, he's not there physically, and he mumbles his words. And I said, did she say Trump by accident? But then she went on proceeding to describe Donald Trump, except she's describing Joe Biden. And I've realized I don't even think they believe what they're spewing anymore. I just feel like they are so set in their ways and they hate Trump so much that they will blindly, with no factual evidence whatsoever, support Joe Biden, and they will go as outrageous as necessary to validate their points, which really hold no weight whatsoever.
Xavier, bring us home.
And, you know, I think that you're right, Dave, on the sense that the Democrats are starting to realize that they have to slightly, ever so slightly, acknowledge the obvious that we've all been able to see for years when it comes to Joe Biden. It's that the writing is on the wall when it comes to just his physical and mental health. And the Democrats are starting to lose support and lose faith in their own audience because they're questioning, the Democrats are just at large questioning, why is nobody acknowledging the clear cognitive decline that's happening in Joe Biden? So by lightly touching on it, that's their way of being like, oh, in the event that, let's say, during this debate, because I think it's going to be very telling during this presidential debate next week of what the future is going to look like for Joe Biden and how immediate they are going to move forward with trying to swap him out and put someone in his place. But by slightly acknowledging the very obvious truth that Joe Biden is having this huge slip in his health, they can be like, oh, well, we've been calling this out. We were never hiding this. This has been something that we've known for a while because he's getting older. It's them trying to save face in advance, and I really do feel like he is going to be swapped out before the DNC convention.
Yeah, it feels very much like the border thing to me, where a whole bunch of online people have been screaming about the border for 2 years. They lied about it, or they ignored it first, then they lied about it, then they slightly acknowledge it, and then they do something about it. That's kind of, I think, where we're at. Let me ask you guys one other thing. What do two cool cats like you guys do over the weekend? Emily, what do you got for us?
I actually will be in LA, and I hope Xavier will make a famous Walk With Me video, but we'll see. If I'm lucky enough, I might just get that.
Oh, man. Xavier, you going to take her for one of your fancy walks with your $37 Erewhon peanut butter acai thingy that you're always drinking over there?
Oh, absolutely. You know, your Erewhon is on me, Emily. You know, we believe in strong masculine values over here. But yeah, let's do one on Saturday, because Sunday I am flying back to the homeland of Israel for a week. So yes, I'm very excited to be there, and probably going to go on a hike this Saturday just to, you know, get myself ready mentally. But yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, what am I doing? Probably changing diapers, and maybe there can be some tequila at some point. That's the hope. That's the great hope.
Gotta have that tequila.
You guys will be parents one day. You'll understand. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Guys, no post-game show on Friday. We will see everybody on Monday. Thanks.
So this record is in honor of George Floyd. And I really hope we can see more unity and more peace when already things are so difficult. So, shout out to his family.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream